All right. I am officially live. This is my second YouTube live ever. I am now practicing on my phone. Earlier, I went live on my PC. And so thanks for bearing with me. Yes. So I'm just going to see where the buttons are. Okay. I am Colleen and I'm 57. I am committing my whole life to building an amazing third act, this whole next life, this whole next chapter we get. And I am doing it with you all, women over 50 doing the same thing. We're figuring out how to be very intentional about this life we create, figuring out who we are now at this stage of our life, figuring out what we love to do at this stage of life, and how we can do more of that. We're figuring out what we want this third act to look like. And more importantly, I think we're figuring out what we want this third act to feel like, I think is always very important to me. As a woman over 50, I want to be very intentional about my life, who I have in my life, what I do in my life, all the things. And so we do that. I think it's amazing to do it together. I think we're living in unprecedented times in the sense that we have this healthy longevity ahead of us now that previous generations really just didn't have. So we get a whole next life, which to me is incredible. And I think one of the cool things is we can build a life that we haven't even envisioned for ourselves yet. We can build something we haven't even envisioned for ourselves. It could be something you've never even thought about doing before or considered doing before. Like, how cool is that, right? So I think it's cool. I'm just playing with some of these buttons. Okay. I'm playing with some of these buttons just to see what's what. What was that? Okay. What did I do there? Did I do something? Oh, I see. I flipped the camera. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Oh, that kind of changes the angle. Okay. All right. Well, this is just me trying to figure this out. All right. I'm going to kick off for now. Hello. This is my first ever YouTube live on my phone. I am just practicing how to do it. And I do a live video every morning, actually, on the Clock app, which I am hoping is not going away. But I normally do Coffee with Colleen and Trixie every morning about 7 a.m. Trixie being, you can't see her, my short and chunky dachshund. But thank you. We are, we always get together. We're women over 50 talking about our third act and how we're going to build an amazing next chapter. That's what we're doing. So what I was saying a second ago, any of us who are over 50, I think the amazing thing is the fact that we live in a time where we have this incredibly healthy longevity ahead of us. Meaning, I'm 57 now. Statistically, I'll probably go to another 30 or 40 years. That's a whole next life that you get to plan for, envision, execute, build, do. But you're also coming into it at a time, at my age, you come into it smarter than you've ever been. You know yourself better. You know what, you just know. You just know what you want, right? You know what you want. And well, actually say you know more what you don't want is probably the better way of putting it. So figuring out who you are in this third act and building on that is, I think, what the incredible opportunity is. I have surrounded myself with women who are doing things they never considered doing, going back to law school, starting businesses. Like, it's incredible. We have this opportunity. And the truth of the matter is we're getting older. We're not aging like we used to. I mean, I think about my grandparents, like they were really old at my age. Like they were frail and elderly. at my age. So I'm widowed, and no, I don't have children. Widowed and no children. And I'm starting over. So I'm building this whole next life. And I have an online membership community called the Third Act Collective, but I'm also writing a book called the Third Act Handbook, because I need to figure out how to do this third act, right? And we're amongst the first generations to have this really long, healthy life ahead of us. And so we don't have a whole lot of models. So we're making the rules up. We're making the rules up. And what I absolutely love is the opportunity to be able to do kind of whatever the heck we want, right? So I was laid off in 2017 from a long time corporate career. Is it far being a jerk? See, I haven't even been on this TikTok long enough to know trolls. That probably works in my favor, right? Anyhow, I don't care about the trolls. Whatever. Thank you for my glasses. So we have this opportunity. Oh, he's being an asshole. Sorry. Knock it off, Afar. I haven't been on this app long enough to even know trolls. So you're just making an ass of yourself if you're trolling me and I don't even get it. I mean, I'm used to dealing with the TikTok trolls. Hello, Stephanie. So as I was saying, coming into this third act. So what does it mean, this third act? I used to think it was an age, like women over 50. It is not. Your third act starts when you decide to put yourself first, prioritize yourself, take your turn, and build a life that you want based on you. And then if other people happen to fit into that, great. But it's when you decide you are going to put yourself first. And any woman on here definitely knows what it's like to be a woman in a patriarchy, right? We're born and conditioned to serve others, be caregivers, be caretakers, prioritize other people, make sure other people are good, and you never come first. And so when you decide to come first, that's when your third act starts. And what I love seeing are the conversations, especially from younger women, because I used to say, oh, women over 50, and younger women are like, can I start? I'm like, you can start now. You can't start too soon. Putting yourself first. So I like to make it the, the analogy when you're flying on an airplane, they're always like, put your oxygen mask on first. That's exactly what it is. You have to start living your life putting your oxygen mask on first. And you have to be incredibly selfish. And anytime I say that, people are like, you can't be selfish. It's bad. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Selfish is good. Selfish means you are taking care of yourself and you are living true to you. And then when you do that, that is the kind of energy you want to bring into the world. Do I think putting people first is a good quality? No. I think putting yourself first is a really good quality, because when we live true to ourselves and we align, we build a life that is aligned with us, who we are, not what society says we're supposed to be. You bring a very different energy to the universe when you do that. And I'm not a woo-woo person. When you are living true to yourself and taking care of yourself, you can bring a much better energy to the world than if you're just only putting other people first and putting yourself second. When you deprioritize yourself over and over, that's like soul sucking. That will eat you alive. That will eat you alive. Putting yourself first, I think, is critically important. I think that's what everybody in the world needs to do, because it brings such a different energy. When you put yourself first, take care of yourself, do the things that light you up, that you enjoy, that way, you show up a very different person than if you're always coming second and putting other people first. But I think you can start that at any age. You don't have to wait till you're 50. I think the 50-year marker usually happens around menopause or perimenopause, which as somebody who's postmenopausal, I can tell you, if there are any younger ladies on here, menopause is a God-given gift. I am telling you, it is the great awakening when you get to go through menopause. It's when you start waking up and you start saying things like, what about me? And you start saying things like, I don't care what other people think about me. I'm going to live genuinely for me. And that changes everything. That changes literally everything in your life. Because I think up until that point, we're so externally driven, especially women. We're conditioned, what do men think of us? What do men think from us? What do men think? No. And women say all the time, what will other people think? Right? What will other people think? There are no other people. There are no other people. There's no other people, and nobody's thinking of you. There are no other people, and nobody's thinking of you. And when you can start living life that way, it's primo. When you start living a life that's just aligned to you, and I think what happens a lot is, as women, so I always say third act. So the acts, act 1, youth. Act 2, adulting. Adulting is when you go to school, get the job, get the family, get the station wagon, get the house, get all the shit that society says you're supposed to do. You do all that. And you wake up one day and say, I did everything I was supposed to do. Where's my prize? And society's like, yeah, there's no prize. You don't win any prize. And you're like, wait a minute, I just spent the last 4 decades doing what I was supposed to do. So you wake up, you're like, okay, you know what? The next decades are mine to live as I want. And I'm very convinced that the term, which is a horrible term, like the term crazy old lady, we've all heard that term. We all know that crazy old lady, the crazy old lady down the block that does all the weird shit. I'm like, oh no, that's not a crazy old lady. That's a woman who woke up one day and said, what about me? I'm putting myself first. And she realizes she's put all of these things on the back burner, things that she loved to do. She, hobbies, interest, whatever it is, she's put on the back burner for other people because she's caring for other people always. And then one day she says, you know what? It's my turn. And then that stuff just explodes out of her in a big way because it's pent up. And then she's called a crazy old lady. I'm like, oh no, that's not a crazy old lady. That is a woman doing what she finally wants to do. I'm like, you go, lady, you do that. That's what I think that is. What does that mean? Is love out of this picture? No, love is not out of the picture. Of course not. But the old cliche, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. And I don't think when you're deprioritizing yourself all the time and putting yourself second, that is not loving yourself. That is sacrificing yourself. 2 very different things. And until you can get to a place where you know you really well and what's meaningful to you, you're not going to bring a genuine love to any relationship. I think you have to start with self-love, which I know sounds corny, but you absolutely have to start with self-love and stop with the self-sacrifice, which women are conditioned to do from the day we are born, is to sacrifice ourselves for other people. And we're responsible for other people. We're responsible for other people's feelings. We're responsible for other people's actions, all these things that we're not actually responsible for, but we're told we are. And you get to a point, I will never forget, I was about 42. I'm 57 now. I was about 42 years old. My life was still all intact. My husband was still alive. My sister and my only sibling was still alive. Like I've lost everybody in the last 7 years and everything, finances, family, everything in the last 7 years, starting over. But I remember I was 42 and, life was just going on. Right. And I remember waking up. I started waking up and every day I'd be like, what about me? What about me? And if you're a woman, I know you've probably had that thought, and it happened, I'm sure, like it was around perimenopause, although I didn't even know that word at the time. But the hormones start changing, and I started to be like, what about me? And I realized I wasn't first in my life anywhere. Everything I was doing, everything I was living was based on other people's expectations of me, what I was supposed to be doing according to society and family and community and all the things that were given with birth. And I'm like, what about me? And I realized I had no idea who I was, what I really wanted at all. And that put me on a trajectory. Well, and then my whole life flipped upside down 7 years ago. And that just put me on this trajectory of, we're going to figure it out. What if you get deep satisfaction out of loving others and showing others how wonderful and beautiful they are? Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful. But if you don't do that for yourself also, it's never going to be fulfilling for you. If you are always putting yourself second in order to make other people feel good, your heart and your mind know when you are not living authentically to yourself. I think it's where depression comes from. I think it's where regret comes from. I think it's where a lot of problems come from when you have sacrificed yourself. I think that's the problem. We are not shown how to love. We are shown how to be respectful in society. Yes. Women, definitely. Be a good girl. Do what you're supposed to do. It's a different thing. But when you start kind of waking up to it, and decide to put yourself first, everything can really change. Like you can literally become like a whole different person, like literally. And I think that scares a lot of women, that you start thinking like, oh my gosh, what do I want to do? And like, maybe you figure out you want to, I don't know, go become an artist or something. I don't know. You're like, but me, an artist? No, I can't be an artist. I've never been an artist. I've never thought about being an artist, but maybe you are. And so you have this opportunity and you get all this time left. We have such longevity ahead of us now. We're living long. So I think it's a little scary when you start really letting yourself dream, like really, truly letting yourself dream and ask yourself, who am I? What do I really want? It becomes a really vulnerable place. I think it becomes a very vulnerable place. And there's a lot of opportunity. You're a 42-year-old man from England. That's okay. You know, I think men go through this too. I think men go through this. People call it a midlife crisis. I'm like, I think it's a midlife awakening. When you start realizing that you've built most of your life based on expectations of others, which is normal. Like that's how we are as humans. We're born into a family system, community system, a belief system. We're born into that. But I think we do reach an age where you start like, you know what? Maybe this isn't all 100% right. Yeah, a single father of 4. Yeah, boys. Oh God. I don't have children. I think raising children in this day and age has got to be incredibly difficult and scary in this world. But what an opportunity to raise like wonderful, aware young men. I think, so I usually do these lives over on the TikTok, and conversations there get a little, so I'm new to this YouTube thing. One of the things that we talk about a lot, because I go live every morning, is this idea that men are as much of a victim of the patriarchy as women are in the Western world. And I truly believe that. I see men who are not encouraged to self-develop. Men aren't supposed to have emotions. They're certainly not supposed to express them. They're not supposed to go to therapy, because that's sissies do that. Girls go to therapy. And so men miss out on that opportunity to self-develop. So what happens is we have a world, and I'm generalizing here, don't come at me, of very emotionally immature men and men who aren't sure how to regulate their emotions or what to do with them because they've never been given the opportunity to. Because, boys don't cry. And so I think that's a tragedy that happens to men. Women get the flip side. Women are responsible for everybody's emotions. So I think in this day and age, but I think the opportunity is, you can change it. You can change, how you show up for your sons. You can encourage your sons to self-develop and do all the things. And I think there's more opportunity. There's more conversations for that. I think, in the US, I'm sure you see a lot of the conversations. There's a lot of very toxic masculinity, which I think is very unhealthy for all parties. For all parties. I think men should just be allowed to be human, right? They should just be allowed to be human. But the opportunity is, I think it is most Western world, I think, the toxic masculinity. Even like the big scandal on Facebook the other day, Mark Zuckerberg on the Joe Rogan podcast, which anyhow, talking about how Facebook needs more masculinity to it. I'm like, oh, Jesus, that's exactly what we don't need. But anyhow, I think we're in a great shift, create like a big gender shift, and nobody's really sure yet what to do, if that makes sense. But the opportunity, kind of coming back to your third act, where you prioritize yourself and ask yourself what you really want to do. Who are you really? What would be meaningful in your life? And living that, I think, is an incredible opportunity. And I think that is where, I never say happy. I don't like the word happy, but contentment lies. Yeah, I'm feeling the shift. I think everybody is. Maybe it's social media because we have the conversations more readily available. I think some of it is a little terrifying as a woman. I don't know if you're on other apps, but when you go on other apps and there's women there talking about like bringing awareness to like domestic, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say on this app, like DV and all that kind of stuff. And the men come on like, not all men, blah, blah. It's like, we're not saying it's all men. And they get angry. And the woman's like, see, you're proving my point. Like we can't even have a discussion without this. That's a little scary and sad. We'll work it out. I mean, humans will work it out. But I think it's a trying time. I think we're in a very huge shift on a lot of levels. But I think the idea of putting yourself first, man or woman, I think is the heart of where contentment lies. And if you can show that to your sons, that would be good. Because we all live by these societal expectations that don't exist. I mean, when we always say that like, oh, well, what will other people think? There are no other people thinking about you, right? It's like this great farce that we're supposed to be living by this set of rules that don't exist. And when you start waking up like, wait a minute, is that what I really want? I've often talked about, I've gotten to a place in my life where I question everything as a way to start figuring out who am I actually? What do I actually believe? Because when we're born and our culture and our society and our, all the things, we're given a set of beliefs basically, right? From your family, from your community, from whatever. And you grow up just, my people don't do that. Until you start questioning it as a way to figure out like, well, wait, is that what I really believe? Or was I just told that? I often joke, the analogy I use is very kind of a silly one, is I grew up, my mother hated carrots. So everybody in the family hated carrots because mom hated carrots. So we all grew up hating carrots. I hate carrots. I hate carrots. And then one day I was like, do I actually hate carrots? Like, I don't even know. Do I? It turns out I don't love them, but I just took it as oh, we hate carrots. And I know that's a silly example, but I feel that everyone is seeing how much BS there has been rammed down our throats and how everyone has gone along with it and everyone is so depressed. And if you are enjoying and profiting of this, yes, from the pain, I would definitely agree. I think it's kind of coming from all sides. One thing, as we get older, you just start to kind of realize that there's a lot of BS out there. Anyhow, I think with social media, we have this, incredible opportunity for conversation and discussion. So you see more of it, and you start to see the truth of things. I think it's a really hard transition when you start to see the truth of things, because I always say, Disney wrote the movie, and when the script starts to fall apart, it's like, oh, damn it. Disney lied. Disney lied to us. Disney lied. So it is, it's hard, but I think the opportunity is to just be like, okay, I'm going to keep questioning. I'm going to figure out this third act. I'm going to see how I want to live and go do that. I think that's where the greatest shift can happen, is when you do that and go live for you. Go live for you. So anyhow, thanks for joining me on my first ever YouTube live from my phone. I'm just learning how to do this. I did one on my PC earlier, but now I feel like I know where the buttons are and all the things. I'll be able to keep coming live and talking about, building this third act and how to do it. I think there's incredible opportunity. We live in a pretty amazing time, and the ability to really dig into what it is you love to do, what you're good at, and live that. In my world, I help women leverage something they know how to do, something they're good at. I leverage it online and go make money with it. And it becomes, the way they generate income is also becomes an incredible part of their life. Because just imagine being able to make money doing something you love, as opposed to being in a job maybe you don't love, or like I was laid off. I was laid off in 2017, or made redundant, as the Brits say. I was 50. I was laid off with 10,000 people, so the whole market was saturated. I knew I wouldn't be able to find a job, but I didn't hate my job. I loved my job. But being able to have my own business is incredible. So being able to find something you really enjoy doing and be able to generate income that way it's definitely about more than just the money, for sure. It becomes about it's part of the plan where everything you do in your life is meaningful and not just because. And that's a great shift. That's a really great shift to have. I often talk about how my online business has become my whole life and lifestyle, which I know sounds dramatic and cliche, but it checks so many boxes. I love what I do. I'm working with women over 50, helping them make money online. So I get to do business, which is my background. I get to surround myself with very cool women all the time. But more than that, I have flexibility to set my own schedule. You have to work. Yes, you have to treat it like a job. But I have that flexibility and freedom. Like I said, I've built an incredible community, but it also does a lot more. I'm challenged all the time. I'm learning all the time. It puts a structure in my life. Like, I very much think we need some structure and goals that we're working towards, other than waking up every day like, what am I doing? Like, there's kind of a purpose, a meaningful purpose. I travel to business conferences. I've been over to London to business retreats. So there's just something concrete that's put into your life that puts the structure and purpose in it, beyond just making money, if that makes sense. I also think as we get older, our communities shift. Like, I don't know if men feel this as well, but the older I've gotten, you lose a lot of friends and community, not because people are bad. It's just you get in a different place. Like you're in a very different season of life, or, maybe your circumstance is really different. And so we lose community, and it's harder to make friends and community the older we get. Like, in our kind of middle years, especially if you have children, you have like a built-in community almost, because your kids, their friends, like you have a built-in network. When you get older, you don't have that anymore. So when you lose friends, it's harder to make friends. I will say social media has filled that gap, as ridiculous as that sounds, but I have met so many incredible people online, like that I like over on TikTok, where I do a live every morning. And I actually just recently filled my entire membership community from TikTok lives. But every morning I'm like, God, I wish all these women lived in the same town. I wish all these people lived in the same town, because you are able to find your right people online in a way that you can't find necessarily in real life. Because obviously real life, you're very limited to the scope of your life. So I think it's a fascinating concept or idea. But I think like another thing on social media is I have learned more things, especially on the Clock app. I don't know what I'm allowed to say here on YouTube Live. Interesting things. I get my news there, but I've learned so many interesting things that I never would have been exposed to in my life, in real life. Like there was no way I would have been able to be exposed to all that. I think that's fascinating. I think it opens up like a world of possibility. So one thing I often talk to my students about is this idea of you have to train your brain to start noticing stuff outside of your bubble. We get very tunnel visioned in our life, and this is how we do things. This is what we do. And you get kind of tunnel vision, and you no longer see what's over there or what's over there. So when you start training your brain to notice other things, I'm like, what is that? Oh, I'm curious about that. I want to know about that. It just opens up possibility of maybe I want to try that. Maybe I want to see what that is about. Has it given you more confidence? You mean having my own online business? Yes. Because you get to be challenged all the time, in a good way. You get to learn all the time. So you're always like accomplishing and figuring things out, which always I think is good for the confidence and the self-esteem. The constant learning. And I think it's important for us to have challenges in our life. Not that everybody wants like challenge after challenge, but if you're just sitting there, like, I don't know, watching TV all day with no challenge, that will destroy your self-esteem. I think we need to be challenged so that we can figure things out and accomplish things and be like, oh, I figured that out. Okay, that's okay. I can do that. I think that's a good thing. So like having my own business all the damn time, sometimes it's a little too much, but like now I'm deep in the AI rabbit hole. I'm all over. I'm like, I'm going to go learn that. What is that? I got curious. What is that what are they doing over there? I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go figure that out. I think it just makes life interesting too. To have that, the next challenge, how are you going to figure it out? I definitely thrive on that. Like my personality is like, oh gosh, how am I going to figure that out? Like, oh, the nerves, and like, oh, we'll figure it out. There's that. How much have I learned about AI? Just a little bit. I'm not too deep in the rabbit hole. I mean, I use it a lot, but I wouldn't say I'm like an expert or anything, but I do love it. I love AI. And I integrate it in my, like all my lessons and whatnot that I give for students. I think the possibility with AI is scary. Like, I know there's a lot of scary parts to it, but I'm like, that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Yes, I am using AI in my business now. I use, um, well, I use it lightly, I'll say. Like when I do lessons, I've created several custom GPTs for my students to use for certain exercises. I use it a lot for brainstorming, writing, things like that. A goal for Q1 and Q2 of 2025 is to learn more about some automations, some workflow automations that just to make life easier. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm at the beginning stage of that. But in terms of using AI for, answering questions, brainstorming, um, copywriting, I mean, things like, I should say, I started using, for example, Gamma. If you're familiar with Gamma.app, it's like a presentation AI. This thing is ridiculous. It's you like you write an outline, a Google Doc outline on a topic, right? You put it in Gamma and you say, "Can you build me a presentation?" And it will build you like a 30-slide presentation, but just from an outline, it will synthesize information, put it on the right slides, and it will create documents for you and all of that. It's incredible. It's like unbelievable. Hang on, looking. Kat says, I created a GPT to help me study for a certificate that I want to get for work. Awesome. Like, isn't that cool? Like I didn't know how to build a custom GPT. So I just went into Chat GPT and says, I don't know how to build a custom GPT. Can you help me? And so it taught me how to make a custom GPT. Like, I find that so fascinating. But in terms of being able to get things done so much faster with work, like things like I thought about, like this presentation, you can build, say, like a 30-slide presentation. And I remembered when I was still corporate, we would have to do these monthly like PowerPoint presentations. Like we had to do our monthly report in PowerPoint format. Those would take me days, like probably 3 or 4 days to assemble that monthly report, which I always thought was stupid because I'm spending more time reporting on my job than doing my job. But anyhow, and now you're just like, Gamma, create a presentation, and it does it. And then every slide is customizable. You can change the fonts, the colors, the picture. It's like astonishing to me. And you can then create documents, worksheets, like anyhow. So yes, I'm using it in my business, for my business, and I do a series. So when my students join my membership community, where the very first starting place is, I call it the Big Book of You. It's a series of 7 inventories that I've created, 7 different areas of your life where you just start inventorying yourself, documenting yourself, everything you know how to do, everything you love to do, document your surroundings, your environment, all of these things as a way to start just kind of getting a clearer picture of like who you really are. I think we forget. And then we start to look for patterns, like maybe a lot of areas of your life are creative, whatever. There's a lot of patterns. I created a custom GPT that walks the students like, okay, you input your inventories, and then it will analyze things they've repeated or similar items and kind of pull out like, hey, it seems like you really like this, you're good at this. And then here are like 30 ideas for how you might take that online and make money with it. It's fascinating. Yeah, Gamma is a really great app. It's like mind-blowing. The fact that it can take, say you write something up in just a Google Doc, an outline, or just a document, the fact that it can synthesize the correct information out of that document for us for a presentation is just like incredible. Yeah. And I think knowing AI now, especially if you're an employee, is a great, benefit to have, to be comfortable with AI in your job. Because I still find, I haven't been in the corporate world in 7 years now, but I remember, back in the day, even things. So I worked in higher education. I worked for a company called Pearson Education. It's actually UK based. But I remember we would be doing things because everything was going digital and the internet and things were moving fast and like Facebook and things like that. And the higher ups, the big muckety mucks, old white guys, of course, and they didn't know anything about those technologies or whatnot. So they'd often shoot it down because they kind of like the US government's trying to do with TikTok because they don't get it. Like these old white guys don't get it. So I think anybody that can do like AI and be comfortable with that now can be like a real leader in your company, because a lot of people are still very, skittish around it. So I think it's a great thing to learn. And speaking of AI, I always recommend this woman. She's on YouTube here. I found her on TikTok, but she has a massive YouTube channel. Her name is Sabrina Romanoff, Ramonov. She's a Filipino descent, but she's an American Filipino descent. She has an entire channel of AI education because young woman, I think she's maybe 30, 31, built a big AI company that she then subsequently sold it for, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So she's young and retired, but she's like, nobody should have to pay for AI education and it should be accessible to everybody. So her channel she has entire courses on like AI for beginners, ChatGPT for beginners, like different tools. She also has a really incredible newsletter that she sends out free once a week, but she does AI for different industries, like AI prompts for the insurance agent, industry, AI prompts for veterinarians, like literally like every kind of industry out there. But I find her channel like amazing, especially if you're just wanting to learn different tools. And she's getting ready to do a course on AI automations. So I'm interested in that for sure, because I think it's fascinating. I think we need to know it. AI is here. It has left the station. And I do love using it in my business with my students. And then of course, when I do use it with my students, they think that I'm like this crazy genius. Like, oh my God, she knows AI. And I'm like, no, I just asked ChatGPT to help me build this thing. And it did. And it worked. So anyhow, definitely keep going, Kat, for sure. But I think it's fun. I think it offers a lot of opportunity. So when I have my students go through these inventories and they can upload them into ChatGPT or AI, I use ChatGPT. It does the analysis for them and does like a level of brainstorming and research that our brains just can't do. So it'll come up with unique combinations of different hobbies and skills they might put together and, create a really unique product. Or I just think it takes creativity and brainstorming to like next level, like on steroids. I'm always amazed by it. For sure. Yeah, but definitely check out Gamma. But AI, I think, is cool. I think there's just a lot of possibility, especially like in the workforce if you learn it, because a lot of people aren't. I know certainly people my age are, most people my age are like afraid of the technology of AI. And I'm like, I'm going to have to go. This has been a pleasure and such a beautiful. Oh, thank you. Well, I will be doing YouTube lives again for sure. But I appreciate the kind words. Yeah. I actually probably have to run here. Ooh, I've been on 45 minutes. So I guess I will run too. Yeah. And Kat, where are you located? Are you in the US or UK? I'm in the US. But I know like my peers, older people there, they tend to be very skittish around AI. Oh, you're in Florida. I just moved from Florida back to the Midwest. I was in Florida. I was in the Tampa area for 23 years and just moved back to my hometown in the Midwest. Yeah, well, definitely subscribe to my channel. I'll be coming on more for sure. I really love, you did the opposite. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people do people are asking me like, wait, you went the wrong way. Like, I know, but it was good to get back to my hometown. So just to get around friends and support system. But yeah, definitely subscribe to my channel and, yeah, because I'll be doing more YouTube lives, and I really just talk about the, women coming into this third act, prioritizing yourself, and doing that. Oh, so you went Florida to Indiana, back to Florida. Yeah, I could wind up there again. I could wind up. I don't know. I don't consider like anything really permanent anymore. I'm kind of, I don't want to say floating around the planet, but I kind of am floating around the planet. So I lost my husband 7 years ago. I lost my only sibling 3 years ago. I have no children. So I'm untethered, so to speak. So I'm, movable. But I came back to the Midwest just, I always say, to catch my breath, catch my breath after, I call it the shit show, the 7-year shit show in my life. So fortunately, we're getting kind of on the other side of it. But anyhow, but definitely subscribe to my channel. And I appreciate you joining me. Me too. Same age, loss of family. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a lot. I think just the older we get, we start to get, there's just more loss. And I wound up back in the Midwest, in St. Louis, because I had to have a colonoscopy, and I had moved from Tampa down to Naples, Florida, thinking that would be a good move. It was not a good move, but not because Naples was bad. Anyhow, and I had to have a colonoscopy, and they're like, who's your emergency contact? And I was like, oh, I literally don't have one. I'm like, I've got to change that. So anyhow, moved back to the Midwest. I don't find anything to be permanent. So I'm like, maybe I'll move somewhere else at some point. And so, yeah, it is a lot. I said I felt untethered. So it's interesting you said that. Anyhow, I've subscribed. Oh, awesome. Yeah, untethered is a very kind of, it can be really amazing, and it can be lonely, and it can be, I don't know. I think the opportunity with it, of course, is we can go do anything we want. We can go do anything we want. But obviously there's downside to it as well. So, and yeah, if you go, I don't know how it works on YouTube. If you go to my link, you can check should be a Stan Store link. I have like a free newsletter you can sign up for called the Gumption Gazette. And I have an online membership community, and I have several like free resources up there if you are ever considering like making money online, doing something that you love, leveraging something you know how to do and building an online product. Yeah, check it out. Hey, Destiny. Yeah, lonely and free. It is. It's both. It's both. But I don't consider myself, like, I don't consider anything permanent now. So like I'm back in my hometown, and I've been here like almost 2 years. I'm like, I could move again, maybe somewhere else just to check out someplace. So there it is. I guess that's one benefit, is not being like responsible to anybody. So you can just go do what you want. So anyhow, I am going to run, but thank you for joining me today. It's great meeting you all. This was like I said, my first YouTube live, at least on my phone. I did one earlier on my PC, but I'm trying to figure out all the buttons and all. So I appreciate it. And I will see you here on YouTube. And I appreciate it. All right.